Recently, I've been on the topic of using functional movements as mobility. So you know me, I focus a lot on lower extremity movement, with a lot of runners and triathletes. But when we're looking at the upper extremity, shoulders in particular, big area, a lot of people are just so tight and restricted through the shoulders and really don't have good rotation and this horizontal abduction. So what we want to do is not just work on your typical stretching. We can go in the wall, open up through the chest, but incorporate some kind of movements that puts us through that full range of motion that is good after your self-myofascial release, after your flexibility and mobility work, to add some kind of more of a movement approach to that to really gain more motion. So what I want to show you first is how to open up through the chest. So if you see here, I have 2 plates. What I'm going to do is actually work on a push-up, because if we elevate our hands off the ground, we can use our body to sink down and get more depth, which will really help open up through this pec major here as the arms are pulled back to a greater degree. So what I want you to do is, depending on how tight you are, is going to depend on how high you go on a plate. I have 2 45s here. You might need to go to 25s, 10s, or if you are very tight and restricted, even doing just one arm at a time could be your starting point. So just to show you one arm at a time, obviously the one that's elevated is the side I'm really trying to focus on from a flexibility or muscle length standpoint. So regular push-up, lowering down, trying to get down to the ground. So as I go down, you can see the depth on my left arm compared to my right. That left elbow is a lot higher horizontally abducted past my body or extended, okay, than my right arm. So that is going to get me more range of motion. But I want to do that as I control through the range of motion, because it's that eccentric control. I'm using the muscles, the nervous system, the body to really control myself down to allow myself into that motion. You'll notice a lot of times when you get up and stretch, you'll hit a certain point and you can't stretch any longer, and you almost feel like that muscle is guarding or protecting against it. But we put ourselves in a position where we're under control. We can get a little bit more motion as our body sinks down into those deeper depths. So from there, that's how you get motion. Again, the more simple way on this, I wouldn't necessarily focus too much on difficulty. If you say, hey, I don't have much upper body strength, doing a push-up, nevertheless, doing a push-up that deep is hard for me, what you can do is go to a kneeling position, because we don't need to focus so much from a strength standpoint as we do from mobility. So if I go kneeling, I can do the same exact thing, sinking down and then driving back up. Again, taking my time as I go down towards the ground, because I really want to kind of accentuate that range of motion down that deep within the shoulder there. So that's the first way to do it. Again, if you have a lot of restriction that you need to ease into this exercise. Next one we can do is setting our hands up on both plates and making sure we are a good distance away so the body can sink in between. And same thing, we don't need to go from the toes. You can go kneeling if you need to, depending on upper body strength. But coming down here, nice, slow, controlled. So usually I would stop right here as I hit the ground. But now I have a couple more degrees as I sink down, take my time, and then drive back up. Again, controlling eccentrically throughout that range of motion. Lower, down. And if you notice, for me, I actually like to get to the bottom and somewhat set my body weight down, because I'm going to get to that end range, and I'm going to hold for a second. So I'm actually starting to rest lightly my body. I'm still pushing into the plate, so I'm still contracting through my chest. I'm not letting go completely, but I'm going to get down there, rest for a second, and then I'm going to drive back up. Okay, so we can do that kneeling as well. Again, the more plates you have, the more we can get into that range of motion and open up through the pec. But something that's good to work on, again, test, see how much motion you have, work on this drill, retest, see how that has changed. But this is a very good strategy to help improve range of motion and mobility around the shoulder joint, specifically opening up these tight pec muscles.